I am back with more animations in Canva for you. It's been a wee while, but I am going to also be going back to the previous Canva animations you have loved and updating them because there is the new video editor now. This one is the Polaroid animation. It's a kind of super trending animation right now. It's super cute. You can use it in so many different ways. I have also created this in Adobe Express and have a tutorial up on my channel just now that you can also check out if you use Adobe Express. But I'm going to show you how to make this one inside Canva. Now, the new video editor does look very different from the previous one, and I know everyone has been feeding back lots and lots of feelings on it, but things change, things update, and we have to learn how to use the new one as best we can. And there is some improvements to it. It's just I have found it fiddly myself, especially the match and move transition, and I will be explaining how to get that to work in this tutorial too. Now you can see that I have quite a few different layers on here and I have different timings. You can see all the different layers much more clearly in the new editor, and I will explain it as I talk through how to build this design. So I'm just going to start from a new page. I just click on this one here just so I can rebuild this design for you. I am in the template mobile video size, and I'm going to start by sourcing all the different elements that I need. I'm going to go into elements here and I need a Polaroid camera, and I want to search for photos because I want this to be a more realistic looking camera rather than an illustration. Now you notice when I press the elements it automatically jumped into the background of the image, and that's not what we want to happen. So if I go back in, and this time I'm going to drag it across so that it just sits on my page but not actually embeds into the background of the video, and then I'm able to just freely move it around the page. It's also placed the camera where I have my timing arrow, so if I take this back to the beginning I can easily just drag this back to the start. Next I need an actual Polaroid photograph, so if I just search for Polaroid, and I want one that's just purely facing flat onto the screen. Again, I've just automatically clicked it as I do, and I'm so used to doing, so I'm just going to undo that and drag my arrow back to the very start and drop it on. It is a change to the way we've been used to working, but you do soon get used to it the more you are working within your new editor. Then I'm going to search for a background, and I'm just going to choose a dreamy gradient background like this one. And again, you would think that I would just drop it in. And you might think, well, it's your background, why are you not just automatically letting it drop into the background? I don't want to do that because I am going to have to create a wee bit of layering to get the Polaroid animation to work. So I want to leave this as a free layer as well. So now that I have the main elements, I'm just going to drag this underneath so it then sits underneath the camera and the picture. You can also still go into position and go into your layers and drag it in here if you find that easier than working from the bottom editor. Now you'll see we've got a background to the Polaroid image and I don't need that, so I'm just going to quickly remove the background. Still using the red lines as my guide to know when it's sitting exactly in the middle. And I'm going to line up the Polaroid image as well to make it look like it is coming out from inside the camera. Now first of all I am going to click on the camera and I'm going to copy paste so that I have a second layer of that camera. I'm going to place it exactly on top, and then using these bottom arrows here I'm just going to drag it up till it sits exactly where the Polaroid image is going to be coming out of the camera. But I also need to copy this background, so Command C, Command V, and I now have two layers of this background. I'm going to drag up, I've positioned it so exactly on top of the previous photograph, and we only just need to cover up the part where the camera sits. So at the moment it's sitting on top of the camera, but I'm just going to move this so it sits underneath the camera but still on top of the Polaroid image. And this is so we can get our animation and transition effects to work correctly. So there's a wee bit of layering we have to do at the very start of this animation. Now with the new timeline, you'll see that wherever this arrow is where it places all these images. I'm just going to drag everything back to the start to make sure everything is there from the very beginning of this animation. Now, at the moment, everything is sitting in layers. You can't see your page frame or how long the frame is. So what I'm going to have to do is click this plus button and add blank. And this is actually giving me the base layer, if you like, and for how long this frame is going to last for. At the moment, it's 5 seconds. You can see that we can now drag it and change it to how many seconds we want it to be. But all the other layers could transition onto that next page, which is a big difference from the previous version and does cause a bit of confusion. I need to just have the first one just being about 1.5 seconds. And I'm going to leave the camera and the gradient layers the same. These can last for the full animation. And the main one that's going to change is the Polaroid photo. I'm then going to click and have another page added. And this is so I can then create match and move animation. So you can see it's really looking quite different from how I would have built these animations before in Canva in the previous video editor. So I'm just going to move this down out of the way so I can focus more on the design at the moment. For this Polaroid image, I just want it to be sitting ever so slightly sticking out from inside the actual camera. And if I go back into my layers just to show you, if this photograph was at the top layer, it would be sitting on top of the camera and we'll be able to see it. And at the moment we don't want to be able to see it at all, which is why we've had to create these additional layers with the camera on top so that we can create that hidden effect. And then I'm going to change the timeline so that this Polaroid is just visible on the first page or frame. And I'm going to duplicate it and I'm going to just move it so it's right next to the other one. And I need it to be sitting exactly on top. I'm going to just slightly overlap so that with this Polaroid image selected, I can place it exactly on top so that there is no jarring between the frames. So now we are going to move the Polaroid camera so that it's now visible. Now we're going to create the match and move transition to get this Polaroid to move into place. So you'll see we can still add a transition now between those two pages, frames, and I'm going to click add transition and I'm going to select match and move and I'm going to increase the duration because I want it to slow down and be quite a slow transition. I at first was confused as to where the match and move now was until I realised that I didn't have that actual blank layer in place. I just had the other layer sitting on top. So if you're coming across that issue, that's how you fix it. We now have our transition working nicely and we've got the Polaroids sitting on the same layer as each other, just broken up so we can add that transition in. I'm going to add a photograph. I'm going to just search to photos. And as you know me, I love a happy dog. So let's just pick one. I had chosen this wee guy. I thought it was super cute. And again, automatically, I just automatically clicked it. And it's such a hard habit to break. So just bring it across and place on the page. And you'll see it's actually placed it way over here on this timeline, even though I had it selected onto the go. So it's still quite pernickety and there's things I don't like about this new editor and it's just having to work with it and just figure out the best way to use it. I'm just going to place it on top of the Polaroid and I just need to resize it. Move this out of the way, just to zoom in so I can make sure it's sitting exactly over the black area. To get it properly in the frame, we can just double click and then I can move the image to be in the right place. Fade. When we check the layers, you can see at the moment the photograph is trying to come in at the same time the Polaroid's image is moving down. So if I just hover across so you can see. So what I need to do is just move across and select the image of the dog so that it doesn't appear until the Polaroid is stopped moving. But now we need to add that lovely effect where the photograph is slowly developing as it's coming out the camera, which is what happens with Polaroid images. So I'm just going to select the dog, animate, and scroll down to fade. And again, I'm just going to have it going on enter so it stays on and doesn't disappear. And I'm going to slow down the speed right down because I want it to be quite a slow development. And we need to drag this Polaroid frame right to the end of the animation so that it stays there and doesn't disappear off the screen. So now if I hover across slowly, we've got the transition happening and we've got the wee guy slowly appearing, which is lovely in the effect that we want to achieve. And from there, we can really start developing this design any way you want. We could add some text. If I just press T on the page, and I've got this font here. It's remembered the one I've used before, Manslava, which is a nice handwritten font. And we put Buster's 5th birthday. You'll see it's added this text near the end of the animation, so I'm going to have to just pop back in and move it to where I want it to start appearing. And I do want to add another animation, and I want to have a typewriter effect for this animation, so I'll just pop back in and go to typewriter, animate on enter, and I'll probably speed it up a bit this time so that it comes in quite fast, and zoom out so we can see the whole animation. And we can see our Polaroid working, Buster's emerging on the photograph, and our text is coming in nicely. And everything else is just adding whatever elements you want. You can add 3D stars and shapes. And this is where I got some of those really gorgeous looking stars and shapes and things. There's so many funky ones you can use. And then again, just shrink them down. Turn them around. I can never remember to actually have my timeline in the correct place, so I'm just going to scoot them back along. You can see you do very quickly get used to the new editor. And again, I do want to add a little bit of animation, so I'm going to animate. And this time I'm going to use pop. There you go. Enter. And for these ones, I also like to add in a little pulse as well. I'm just going to stagger the timings that they all appear. And lastly, a bit of text. Capital, and celebrate. And if you can just find a nice chunky font, I can add this one, Gaggling. And I like to just go into text colours and choose a colour that's in the photo colours here, adding a little bit of animation. So you can see everything's just built up slowly in stages. You take one element at a time, animate it, hover the timeline across back and forth just to make sure you've got the animation working the way you want, then move on to the next thing you want to add to the design, animate that, and do the same again, rather than I don't design the whole finished thing and then add all the animations. It's just the way I like to work. You could do it that way, whatever way is easier for you. And this time I think we'll have burst. Burst is nice, and we'll have it on enter. So if I go to preview, you can see this is the first one that I created to show you. And this is the one that we've just created just now with all the same elements and animation happening. So I hope you like that one. And please do subscribe and stay tuned for many more animations to come in both Canva and Adobe Express.